All right, let's do this. All right, hello everyone. I'm gonna just walk you through a theory task of lab, which I think shows the viability of actually tying the tasks. There's a couple frames that you need to save, which are absolutely insane, and I don't expect anyone to pull them off, but everything is humanly doable. The question is just if I mean anyone is crazy enough to get it all in one go. But I'll just walk you through the tasks. I tried to find the most viable strats for every single frame save, but um, a couple of them, like I said, are kind of insane. So I might go through a couple different options. It's kind of this is not scripted. I have some notes, but I'm just gonna walk you through the tasks and explain anything that is important for saving frames. Okay, so let's get started. So let me first explain what you see on the screen. So top left is just a frame counter of the task. So this is frame 51 out of 2251. If I advance by a frame, you'll see the counter goes up. What you see here are basically, or is some information about Viridian. So right now he's at X position 191, Y position 33. His X velocity is 0 and his Y velocity is 0.25. I'm not going to explain any of the wacky mechanics. So, I mean, one of the things you might notice if I advance a couple frames, you'll see his Y velocity is also oscillating. This is relevant for the task in a couple places, or I mean, for this theory task, it's relevant in a couple places, but not too much. Is it? I'm not actually sure if it is relevant. I think there's no place where you actually need to care about it. No, I think just vertical align. But like anyway, there's a lot of complicated mechanics in V6, or I mean, as we call it, jank, because the game is very like it's not programmed very well in a sense, which leads to a lot of quirky behavior, like the Y velocity oscillation you see here. It only happens when you're standing on the floor to make things even more interesting. Anyway, that should be everything. Oh, okay, two more things. So first of all, I mean, you don't see it right now, but um, the task also displays which buttons are being pressed in the bottom left here. So it'll say, for example, if the left arrow is being pressed, it'll say K left, or if the right arrow is being pressed, it'll say K right, or if uh, V is being pressed, which is the button I'm using to flip, it'll say KV. That's just the way libtask works with the on-screen display. I also have here in the bottom left, I can't put my cursor on it because it's somewhere else actually. I have just inputs that I'm pressing. So if I do go through a couple different options, uh, you might see me pressing those. I don't know if I'm actually going to use that or not. We'll see. I'm just going to do this in one take. So like if I mess up, you just have to live with it because it's probably going to take a while. Okay, so now um, I wonder if it's best if we just do a watch through of the entire task, and then we go through each thing step by step. So maybe let's do that. Let's just watch through the task once. So I mean, you can see some stuff like I saved a state, so I can restart the task back here later on. So now you see in the bottom left here, you see which keys are being pressed. I know there's no game sound. That's just the way this works, because I'm replaying the task live and not recording it. And I'm using Windows Subsystem for Linux, so I don't have sound. So yeah, so this human theory task ties the actual task to the frame, and the final time is going to be 1 minute and 2 seconds, 0.00. The task has actually been at that frame count for a very long time, There's only one frame save that I found in the past, I don't know, 5 years or so probably. Well, okay, no, I haven't been testing for that long, in the past 3 to 4 years. And that put it from 102.03 to 102.00, and nobody's found a frame save since. Yeah, and this is exactly what you see here, 102.00. All right, and of course we get a rank and all that, but nobody cares. It's just about the fastest completion time. All right, so let's go back to the start. So I'm not sure how to go through this best, but the start is relatively simple. Um, I mean, there's a couple ways to do the first room. Let me just make a couple save states so I can return here if I need to. So one way of doing this is you just wait until Viridian is like around here and then you hold left, or else you can also just already hold left here and then release left for 5 frames and then bounce and hold left again. Doesn't really matter, everything is about the same fast. As long as you can flip down on this frame here and make it past the spikes like this, that's the only important thing. I don't know if there's an align where you lose that if you hold left as early as possible. Yeah, so as long as you can flip down like that, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, you obviously have to flip down on the first possible frame. Then you buffer flips here. Should be relatively clear what's happening. Here you just hold left, and now comes the frame save that I found, the only frame save in the tasks in the past 3 years. The way you set it up for a human is you bonk on this wall, then you release, and then on the frame that you touch this line, you hold left again. So it's frame perfect. Then you buffer a flip off the ground here, and you'll notice that Viridian will touch this platform for a single frame. This manipulates your vertical align, so basically just the position while you're falling. It allows you to bounce off this line sooner. Or you bounce off the line at the same time, but with you're lower down when you bounce, because you already slowed yourself down a tiny bit here, so you bounce down faster. That's how you save the frame, and then you see you barely make it past these spikes. Okay, so now once we've bounced here, we're just going to release left. We want to set up a corner cut to get past the corner that I mean, this wall extends down into the next room, and then there's a corner there, and we want to set up a corner cut for this wall. So the way we do this, as you just saw, is I tap left for 1 frame. The reason I do this is not because, I mean, it's already possible to corner cut frame perfectly this way, or not frame, I mean, it's going to be a frame perfect corner cut like this. And by tapping left for 1 frame, I manipulate my align so that on the frame where I cut past the corner, I'll be 3 pixels away. And the reason I do that is to give myself a 2 frame window to get a perfect corner cut, because it's not very precise. You only need to get 2 pixels past 2 extra pixels on the corner cut, whereas the maximum is 6 pixels, right? And if you need 4, 5, or 6 pixels past the corner, I think even 3. So 3, 4, 5, or 6 pixels past the corner, it's frame perfect. You need to the corner cut holding right or whatever button you need to hold, it'll be frame perfect to get past the corner. But because this one we only need 2 extra pixels, you'll see why later. It's not too important. We can set up our lines to give us basically a 2 frame window to get the corner cut rather than a 1 frame window. Yeah, that's all. Or I think 1, 2, or 3 pixels gives you a 2 frame window. Yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter too much. So basically anytime while you're falling down, you can just tap left for a single frame to move Viridian 2 pixels left, and then here for this corner cut you have a 2 frame window. It happens to start holding right on the later frame, but I could also go back here and then hold right on the first frame, and it doesn't really matter. This one actually gives you less distance past the corner, I think. Or does it give you more? No, this one gives you more. So let me go back and change that so I get less distance past the corner, just so you can see. Is that right? Give me a second. Yeah, so this gives me, this is the first frame that I can pass the corner is the next one, right? So I get to position 74, whereas if I do the opposite, you'll see on the next frame, I get 73. So this is a 1 pixel less, but it doesn't matter. Now we just hold right, hold right, hold right. We buffer a flip here. You don't need to do that. And then here you just have to flip late enough so that you don't bonk here, but it's quite forgiving. I'm going to stop on the first frame in this next room because it's quite relevant. So the way we set it up, doing the left tap before the corner cut, that was relevant because we set up our line for this corner cut here. It doesn't matter which corner cut you get. It's forgiving enough that if you get 3 or 4 pixels past the corner, it doesn't matter which one of those you get. You don't have to react to that or anything. But if you didn't set up the line this way, then the setup for here would be different. If you want to go for a pixel perfect, not a pixel. Well, I guess if you want to go for a pixel perfect corner cut, the setup will be different, for example. Or if you don't go for the corner cut at all. But we're going to corner cut this corner here. So the corner, like there's a wall here, and then, I mean, there's spikes here, but we don't really care about them because what hampers us more is this corner above the spike. So what we're going to do is we're just going to release right as soon as we walk off the platform. So we release right for exactly 5 frames actually, and then we hold right again. And you have to, I'm pretty sure you have to release right frame perfectly, because if we release right a frame earlier, you can see Viridian stays on the platform frame longer, which of course loses a frame. So we gotta, oops, I messed it up. Interesting. Here we go. This is how it's supposed to look. So you release right for 5 frames. The alternative, for example, if you have a different align, is to do something like this, where you hold right continuously, then you tap left for a frame, so you basically do a quick stop, and then down here you hold right again. And this, I mean, here I'll die because my line isn't set up correctly. Maybe if I hold right a frame earlier, it'll work. Yeah, but then this becomes, I mean, it works with a quick stop if you really want it to, if you find that easier. But I think releasing right for exactly 5 frames will work more easily. I don't know. Do whatever you prefer. In any case, now we do the line clip. Of course, we have to do it frame perfectly. So you tap V for a frame, release V for a frame, then press V again. You can hold it longer now. It doesn't really matter. So this is actually quite an intense section because you got to release right frame perfectly, then hold it frame perfectly again, then get a frame perfect corner cut. And now we're actually going to set up our line to corner cut past this wall. So what we do is we tap left for a frame. So we do a quick stop. And this sets us up on the perfect X position, 85 here. I'm just wondering what happens. Let me go back here. I wonder if I still have a save state. Is it here? No, I don't. I was just wondering if you're on the wrong pixel. I know it works if you get the other corner cut, but I don't know if you still end up on 85 specifically. Anyway, you just quick stop and then you want to hold right frame perfectly here to get this corner cut. This section here is quite important because this is the one place where Y velocity oscillation matters, or vertical velocity oscillation, because this platform here extends to the left into the next room, square root. That's the name of the next room. And when you walk off that platform, you need to have a specific Y velocity in order to get a faster bounce off of a line. So the way we do this room is very specific because of that. So what we're going to do is we need to flip on the last possible frame here, which is this one. If you have a different align, the frame looks different and it may not work. So you need to get either, if you're not going for this corner cut, it's fine. You just hold right and you get the same align as with a pixel perfect corner cut the way we did it here. You flip on this frame, keep holding right, and now you're going to do a neutral turnaround, which basically means you hold right, then you release right for one frame, and then you release right completely, but you hold nothing for one frame, and then you start holding left. So that's called a neutral turnaround because there's one frame where you're not holding any direction, which you can also kind of consider holding a neutral direction, I guess. So that's why it's called a neutral turnaround. And you have to do that on specifically, let me get a save state here. So you corner cut, now you flip exactly on this frame, then you release and start holding left, and you'll see Viridian cuts past here really efficiently. And yeah, line hitboxes are busted. Now you bounce, and we land with y velocity 9, which is relevant because that means it'll be set to 0 on the next frame, which is different from, I guess I can show you this just for fun. If we had done something different here and we bounce further up, we're going to land with, okay, if we flip earlier maybe, and then turn around later, we're going to land with, I cannot not land with y velocity 9. Interesting. Whatever. Doesn't matter. If we landed with a different y velocity, it would be set to 0.75 instead of 0. And it also matters like what distance we land from the line, because now it'll start changing every frame on a 4-frame cycle basically. And the important part is when we walk off here, the frame before we walk off, it's 0.75, and then our y velocity changes to 3.5. If it had been different, so if we were to, for example, hold right for a frame here and then walk off after, you can see we have 3.25, and now when we bounce here, you see we're 1 pixel too high to touch the line, because again, line hitboxes are busted. Yeah, we don't touch it. Whereas if we just hold left, we get 3.5, which gives us 1 additional pixel while falling down, so we touch the line perfectly. And this saves 2 frames compared to walking off with any other y velocity. So now this part is easy. You just dodge the spikes. Here, you just need to get a corner cut past here. It doesn't have to be pixel perfect. You actually have a large window. I think depending on your line, you have 1 or 2 frame window, but for most of them, you have a 2-frame window. The important part is that you'll see Viridian gets very close to here. This is basically how you know if it's perfect or not. I think the one in this run happens to be pixel perfect, but as you can see, you have quite a couple pixels that you could be further to the left to still get off the platform here. Maybe it wasn't perfect. I don't know. It doesn't matter too much. It's not that hard to get a perfect corner cut there. It happens probably like without setting it up. It still happens quite often, at least for me. Now you bounce, 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 dodge the spikes. This is easy. Buffer a flip here. Okay, so now comes this dumbest part of the run. So we're going to set up our position away from the wall here. Let me actually go back before that happened. So here, make some save states, just so we can resume from here. So what you're going to see me do is tap right for 2 frames, just to get 4 pixels away from the wall. You could also do this differently. You could tap right for 1 frame 4 times. You could, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Just get 4 pixels away from the wall. You can figure it out yourself. You have a lot of time to set it up, so it's not that hard. But tapping right for 2 frames is the easiest. You can also be 3 pixels away from the wall, so tapping right for 1 frame 3 times also works. 3 or 4 pixels away from the wall is all that's important here. Okay, So this section is going to be very, very precise. And the reason I'll show you, I mean, this is already precise, but the hardest frame to save, I think, in lab is this corner cut right here, because it needs to be pixel perfect. So you need to be on a specific pixel while falling down here, hold left frame perfectly to get exactly 6 pixels past the wall in the first possible frame. So that's really, really precise. This room is also already quite precise to get off this platform as soon as possible. This is the earliest possible frame. So combining basically getting this perfect with then ending up on the perfect pixel here is quite difficult. All right, so how do you do it? There's, like I said, there's a ton of different ways you can do this because it's really annoying. So I have basically 5 different possibilities of how it might be done. The easiest, I think, is the one that I can show you here, which is you're going to start holding right frame perfectly on this frame, which is 12:31, I guess. I mean, it doesn't really matter, or exactly when the timer returns to 35 seconds. Hold right. You hold right for exactly 8 frames, and now you do a neutral turnaround. So you release right for 1 frame, then you start holding left. And this gets you off here on the perfect frame. Um, and now the way we're going to set up our align for the corner cut is we want to touch this ledge that we're walking off of this wall here. So it's actually quite hard because we have leftwards momentum. So if you start holding right away, there's actually only 1 frame where we can touch this wall. If we hold right for exactly 4 frames, it'll stop our momentum and then touch this wall just barely. So instead of doing that, we're actually going to do another neutral turnaround because they're slightly faster. So we release left now, and hold nothing for 1 frame, and now we can hold right for either 2 to 4 frames, like 2, 3, or 4 frames. So 2 to 4 frames, we hold right just so to make sure we touch this wall. And this gives us the right align for the corner cut. There's a couple other ways of doing it. I'm not gonna show them here because it actually changes how many pixels away from the wall you want to be. So one of the possibilities is, again, you're 3 to 4 pixels away from the wall. You do a neutral turnaround here. So you hold left again here, you hold left for 1 frame longer. So you're all the way off the platform, and then you do a quick stop, which gives you a specific align here. The problem is it gives you basically a line that's 4 pixels further to the left from where we are now, which is not correct. So while we're falling down, we then need to tap left for 1 frame to get the right align. So basically you do you're 3 to 4 pixels away from the wall, then you do a neutral turnaround here, and then you do a quick stop. It has to be, I think, frame perfect. Though I guess if you do it late, you can tap right for 2 frames instead of tapping left for 1. But yeah, the point is you do a quick stop and then you tap left for 1 frame while falling down, and then you hold left frame perfectly here. Another possibility would be you're 2 pixels away from this wall, then you do a neutral turnaround again in Bernoulli principle, so like here. And then you do a neutral quick stop here. So a neutral quick stop would be this, where you hold left, you hold nothing for 1 frame, and then you tap right for 1 frame. And that puts you on the perfect align. But it's quite difficult because you need to do a neutral frame and then a single frame of right. So it's quite precise. And if you happen to hold, for a normal quick stop, you can actually hold right for 2 frames and it doesn't matter. You'll still stay still because the first frame of holding right cancels your leftward momentum, or it slows down your leftward momentum. So you still move left by a pixel, and then next one, the second frame of holding right stops you completely. And the third frame would then start accelerating you to the right. But if you do a neutral frame and then tap right for 1 frame, it'll stop your momentum, and then the second frame of right would start accelerating you to the right. So it actually has to be exactly a 1 frame right tap. Okay. So the next possibility here would be you're 1 pixel away from the wall. And then you do a neutral turnaround again, because that's just the fastest way to get through here. And then you basically do what I said just before, where you hold left and then you hold right for 4 frames here. So you don't do a neutral turnaround to touch this wall, you just do a normal turnaround. But then you have to hold right for exactly 4 frames because if you hold it for longer, you go past the wall after falling past it. And if you hold it less, then you don't touch it. And the reason you have to be 1 pixel away from the wall is because it gives you a better line for that here. Okay, so then the last possibility would be you're 3 to 4 pixels away from the wall here. Then you do a neutral turnaround. You hold left, basically again, just the same thing here. Now you release. So I guess I can show you this one. You release, and then you tap right for 2 frames to give yourself the right align, and then you have the right align here. Okay. So that would work as well. And that's also one of the easier ones. But I think the one I have here is probably the easiest. I don't know for sure though, because it's really dumb. And this is, I mean, the getting the neutral turnaround here isn't that hard. I mean, you get it with quite some consistency, even though it is frame perfect. But getting this pixel perfect corner cut, I mean, getting just this align is really hard. And then you still have to hold left frame perfectly here to get this corner cut. So that's probably one of the last frame saves I'd implement if I was actually trying to tie the tasks. But yeah. Okay. So I mean, as I'm sure you noticed, once you do all this stuff, you just hold left, 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 hold left. Here comes the next really dumb strat, which is gonna, I guess I'll show you what it looks like first. I mean, just so you can see what's happening. We're setting up a very specific align here because we want to land exactly like this on this pixel. It's pixel perfect. We need to land exactly here so that we can flip down. We land on this platform for 2 frames. We're still standing on this platform even though it doesn't look like it. Then we walk off and flip on this frame. So this flip is frame perfect and pixel perfect. So that's why we had to set up our align pixel perfectly so we can just hold left throughout this part without setting anything up here because that would be way too hard. And what this allows us to do is you'll see it allows us to just hold left throughout this room. And it is exactly pixel perfect, frame perfect. Yeah. Right, so how do we set this up? Again, there's a lot of different possibilities and all of them suck. I'll show you the one that I think is easiest. I'll show you the one that I have done, or I guess I can show you 2 strats, or I'll explain one and show you one that I have done in a world record run before, because I think it's not that hard. But the one that I have here is easier probably, because the reason I haven't done it before is because I only just found it because I spent like an entire day testing lab to find a better setup and to find a setup basically for every frame save. So what we're going to do is we're holding left. We're still holding left from before. Now when we hit this wall, we're going to release. And then we're going to hold left exactly on this frame or on the next frame, I guess. And then we buffer a flip off this platform. Basically, this allows you to get onto the platform that we want to land on. I mean, this basic, we're kind of corner cutting this, but because we touch the platform for exactly 1 frame, we can flip. This flip gets us the fastest possible landing on the platform we want to land on. The reason we did this way, where we bonk this wall and then start holding left here, that's because we were basically setting up this flip as well as our X position, kind of, just to make the setup easier later. Because the other thing you could do is just keep holding left and then release left for exactly 6 frames up here, and then you get the same flip, but you'd have a different X position. And this one just happens to have an easier setup for later, at least in my opinion. So now we hold left throughout this room. Now comes the setup. So the setup here, which I find or I think should be the easiest, is we're gonna stop holding left and start holding right for exactly 2 frames. So here's right and right again for 2 frames, and then we hold left. And then we're going to do the same thing, except instead of holding right, we're going to hold nothing, right? So we release left for 2 frames, and hold left again. And this gets us on the perfect pixel, as you can see. So there's one important thing to note here, which you don't see in the task, but I guess I can show you here. If we started, holding left overrides holding right. So we can start holding right earlier, like we're holding left and right here, but we're still moving left with full speed. So essentially this becomes two frame left releases. So here we're holding right, now we release left for 2 frames, which gives us 2 frames of right input, and then we release right, and then we release left for 2 frames again here. This sets it up. So that gives you basically 2 releases, which are 2 frames, which should be easier to time than alternative stuff. So basically, what I used to do instead of this is a 3 frame and a 4 frame release of left. So instead of doing what I just explained, you could do a 4 frame left release here. As you can see, I'm not holding anything for 4 frames, then we hold left again, then we do a 3 frame release, and it gives us the same pixel. Both of those work, but the thing is doing 2 frame releases should be easier than doing a 4 frame and a 3 frame release, because you do the same thing twice rather than 2 different things, especially because they're so similar in timing. I found it quite difficult to get the hang of, especially in short succession. Right. So the alternative here is you do the same thing, except like I said, you keep holding left here, and then you release left for 6 frames, and you get basically the same flip except with a different X position. And then what you can do here, similar to what I just explained, is you do a 4 frame left release and then a 2 frame left release. And that should work as well. And that gives you the right pixel to land here. All right, I think those are all the possibilities for this strat that are feasible. I found a lot of other setups, but they're all stupid. One thing to note, because this game is jank, like I said, it matters where on the screen you release left. So, I could release left here for 2 frames and it would work. The same, because I'm not going to collide with this anyway. I have enough room to spare. But when your X position is negative, releases work differently because acceleration works differently when your position is negative. And the reason for that is because the game always rounds your position towards 0. So because acceleration, like the velocity values aren't always whole numbers. Sometimes when you'll see this right when I release, you'll see I have 1.9 speed or minus 1.9. And that means I'm going to move to some weird position. So, here I'm at minus 1.9, so I'm actually going to move to 272.1, but it's going to round to 0. Or I guess because the speed applies on the next frame. Stupid game. I'll show you this again. So here on the next frame, I'm going to have minus 3.8 speed, and then I'll go to 270.2, but that'll round to 270. Whereas if my position was negative, minus 3.8, like if my position was minus 2, my next position would be minus 5.8, which then rounds to 0, so minus 5. So I only get 3 pixels instead of 4. I only say this basically to tell you when you do your releases, you should not be on the left side of the screen because as you can see, your position is only negative, like when you're very close to the edge. So just don't release here, do your releases either here or like halfway through the green room before. It doesn't really matter as long as you're not on the very left edge of the screen. Okay, now we have this pixel. We land here, we can buffer flip here. Now we have to wait. We cannot buffer this flip. It's important you do not buffer because then you flip up a frame earlier. You have to wait and then flip exactly on this frame. It's not as hard as you think to flip. Like I routinely flip on this frame. It's not that hard. I don't think I've ever flipped a frame early. It's possible to flip a frame late, of course, but I mean, yeah, just it's not that hard. It's just frame perfect. Okay, so we hold left, we hold left. We actually don't have to worry about this at all. It's really nice because with different strats, you actually have to care about dodging these. But this is faster and you don't have to care. But of course, you have to set up the stupid pixel. All right, so now comes task I'm sorry. I'm sorry is the name of the room, as you can see. What we're going to do is we're going to flip below these spikes. The thing is, if you just flip off this platform, you hit these spikes and you die. So what we're going to do basically is we're going to corner cut past this corner here. And when I say corner cut, I mean you're carrying your vertical speed past the corner, but we're still going to touch it. And that basically allows us to, because you have coyote frames in this game to flip, you carry your speed past the corner for 2 frames, then you flip, and then you just barely get under here. The way we do that is we're going to release left for exact, because we're still holding left. As you can see, we're still holding left. We're going to release left for exactly 10 frames. Then we're going to start holding it again. And we flip as soon as we touch this platform, right? So we buffer flip here, and we release left for exactly 10 frames. And then we start holding left again, and you see we'll touch this platform for exactly 1 frame and carry our vertical speed past it, and then we flip on exactly this frame. This is a frame perfect flip. It's a frame perfect left release because you need to release, like, it doesn't matter when you release left, but you need to do it for exactly 10 frames. And this flip is frame perfect, so of course this trick is hard, but it's doable. I've done it before. It's not that bad. It's just, yeah, it's hard. But in an IL setting, it's entirely possible. Okay. So now we're here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up another align. Let me make save states here so I can go show you what we're setting up our line for. We're just going to run through this, set up our line there, and now we're going to walk through here, do some stupid shit in this room. Now we need to be on a pixel perfect position. The reason is we're going to land on exactly, it looks like there's, okay. Again, like I said, line hitboxes are busted. They're actually 2 pixels to the left where the line appears. And because of that, there's exactly 1 pixel on this platform where you can land without touching the line. We need to hit that pixel because we're going to buffer a flip. Like you can see, we're holding V, so we're going to buffer flip on this exactly 1 pixel. And that allows us to flip and touch the line at the same time. So we can just fall down here. If you were 1 pixel further to the right, you wouldn't be able to flip on the platform because you touched the line first. And then you just fall up and die, or I mean bounce somewhere else and then fall down, but it's a lot slower. So we need to hit exactly that pixel. And because we're doing all the rooms in between here and over there frame perfectly, we need to already set up our line. So we're gonna, I mean, we did nothing special here, right? We just were holding left and then we kept holding left, I think. Yeah, if I don't have a save state back there, but I mean, we flipped here, we've held left, held left, held left, then we released. And now we're just going to start holding right to get past this. It doesn't matter the timing, just as long as you do a right hold and release right, you're just always going to have the same align here. Now we're going to tap left for exactly 1 frame to set up the align. If you're doing the later rooms differently with the normal IL strat, you actually want to do 1 left tap and then 1 right tap, but because we're doing them differently in order to save 2 additional frames to tie the tasks, we just do a single left tap, which you see here, to move left 2 pixels, sets up our line very nicely. Then we start holding right frame perfectly here. So we just brush past these spikes. Now we flip down. This all, as long as you're holding right, this all doesn't matter. You just bounce, bounce, bounce. So here we're going to do a line clip, except on a vertical line. So the way that works is basically just do line clip inputs, except frame perfectly. So we have to do it exactly. Here we tap V for 1 frame. Then we release V, and then we tap V for, we just tap V again. It doesn't have to be exactly 1 frame. It can be longer because it doesn't matter. As long as the first tap was 1 frame and then there was a 1 frame release, it's fine. So we keep holding right, we keep holding right, we keep holding right. Now again, we're gonna abuse the fact that left overrides right, so we're just gonna keep holding right. And now we tap left for exactly 2 frames here, once we hit this line. After you hit this line, you tap left for exactly 2 frames. As long as you do it before you hit the ground. Actually, no, it doesn't matter. You can do it much later as well. I just realized. But yeah, I mean, just do it here because it's easy because you don't have to worry about anything. Tap left for 2 frames, and now we're going to buffer flip off the ground. Now we're just going to keep holding right, and now we buffer flip off this platform here because we got the pixel. Very nice. Okay, so now you think, oh, we're already done with this. This level, there's nothing hard coming up anymore. Well, get ready. It's actually not that hard, but you just need to get these corner cuts perfectly. So, I mean, I just released right here. It doesn't matter exactly when you start. I mean, you just need to hold left frame perfectly, but the exact align here doesn't matter. So just use the align you got when you released right. So you just hold left frame perfectly here to brush past these spikes. Now we're going to do a neutral turnaround. So we release left and then start holding right. You'll see why this is really good in just a second. Even though it doesn't look like we're getting a good corner cut here, this is perfect. And the reason for that is we land on this platform for exactly 1 frame. But we kind of, because we're only falling 1 pixel here, it kind of cancels our vertical momentum. You see we only have 1 speed. So now we're going to touch this platform for exactly 1 frame, except we have a lot more speed, so that kind of cuts past this corner very well. And it actually cuts past this corner with exactly 8 speed, so we get 8 pixels. And the max you could get is 10 pixels, but it doesn't matter, 8 pixels is enough. So that's the perfect way to do this. So you just do a neutral turnaround here on a frame perfect frame. You might be able to do a like, let me just try that out. If you do something like release right for 2 frames, I don't know. I wonder. No, that's slower, huh? Oops. All right, so yeah, like I said, you just do a neutral turnaround, then start holding right, blah, blah, blah. Cut past this corner. Again, you just release right. You don't care about your align here because it doesn't need to be very good. You can also touch the right wall if you prefer to get that align. Doesn't matter, either of them will do. Then you just hold left frame perfectly to get this corner cut. It's not that precise. Getting 4 pixels past the corner is enough. It might be okay with 3, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Just use the align you got from before to get it. You hold left and then you just pray to God that you did everything right. And then you see 102.00 and we're done. Nice. Yeah, so let's watch through the whole run again, I think. I'm actually gonna have to restart the tassing. Oh no, I still have a save state back here, very nice. So this is the start of the run. We just walked off this platform. Just watch through the whole thing again, so we can see everything that happens. A lot of this stuff is quite easy, like getting these rooms, this frame save here is quite easy as well. This corner cut is easy, like I said, 2 frame window. I can point out the corner cuts that are quite difficult. So this corner cut coming up here, this one combined with the line clip is quite difficult. I didn't do it in my current PB of lab. I don't know if I get a frame perfect line clip. That's a different question. This corner cut here is quite difficult because it needs to be pixel perfect in order to set this stuff up. So those are two corner cuts you could leave out for the time being. Of course, they each save one frame, so that's one frame you're losing compared to tasks. This is quite important. There's a couple other ways you can do this room to only lose like one frame, but the way I'm doing it, the way I told you to do it, uh, is the fastest way, and it's faster than like intuitive ways of doing this room by like 2-3 frames because it sets up the vertical velocity oscillation for the next room. So that's actually quite important. Here, easy, 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 easy. This corner cut is easy. This is all very simple stuff. There's no tricks. Buffer flip. Bernoulli principle itself here is not that hard, so just get at least one pixel away from the wall, then do a neutral turnaround. The rest doesn't matter. The thing is, the corner cut for the standing wave, which is the next room below this, that is really stupid. It's probably the hardest frame to save in the run. So again, that's probably one you want to leave out. So you just do a neutral turnaround here. It's not hard. I mean, it's precise, but it's not hard. So here, this corner cut, like I said, you can leave out. You can just hold left into this wall instead, and you'll get the same align. The reason it needs to be pixel perfect is because the align you have here is actually very important. I can point out why if you're interested. Like, it's just because if you don't get every single pixel that you can, you'll die here. Yeah. Okay, so now comes the merge setup. So basically you release here and then you hold on this frame, flip. Now you do two frame releases. One of them you hold right for. It shouldn't be too bad. This is one of my major reset points though for where it was for when I was grinding lab. The reason being that doing a 4 and a 3 frame release in quick succession is quite difficult. Two frame releases might be easier, could give you some additional consistency, but it's going to be hard. Like that's just the way this trick is. And then you flip frame perfectly, which again, it's going to be hard. This is easy room because of the setup. This is quite difficult, but it's doable. You can practice it quite well. Yeah, it's just a 10 frame release and a frame perfect flip. It's not too bad. Don't forget to tap left for one frame here. Hold right. If you hold right late, it's fine. You still have the same align, but you'll just lose a frame for every frame you're late here. Okay, so now you flip down. I don't know how hard it'll be to pull off this line clip. I've been practicing line clip inputs for lab, and I'm quite consistent at first try. But the thing is, you need it not only first try, you need it on a frame perfect frame. So I really don't know how hard that'll be. Yeah, it's a lot harder probably than the current living dead end setup I go for, which has more frame perfect inputs, but they don't have to be line clip inputs, I guess. The benefit of this is there's only one release, whereas, for example, my current setup has a frame perfect flip plus two frame perfect releases. Whereas this, actually, it doesn't have even a release. It just has a 2-frame left tap right here. It's a 2-frame left tap, and then keep holding right, and you buffer flip. So the hard part of this setup is actually just the vertical line clip. Okay, so you hold left here, do a neutral turnaround, very important. And then just one additional corner cut here, and we're done. Alrighty. So that's how you save every single frame in lab. Get an S rank, tie the tasks, and nobody will ever beat your time ever again. Congrats. Unless, of course, somebody finds a way to save a frame on the tasks, but likely that'll be so ridiculous that you'll never even have to think about doing it. because I've tried so many things to save frames in lab and nothing works. Okie doke. Thanks for watching. This is probably way too long. Oh Jesus, it's 50 minutes. Yeah, don't go for 102.00. Like the frames I pointed out, which are quite difficult. So standing wave, the corner cut before and after the line clip, those are dumb. Should probably not do them. I think living dead end, the way I showed it, should be doable with a vertical line clip, because if you hit that, then everything else is easy. That's really tough, but then you just need a 2-frame left tab, which should be doable. And that gives you 102.1. So I think 102.1 is like a reasonable time to go for. I just wanted to go all out basically and try and save every single frame or find a setup for every single frame. And I'm relatively confident that I found the easiest setup for every single frame, but feel free to lab it out some more if you want. Haha, lab. Yeah, I might try to go for 102.1 or at least like 102.10 or 102.1x, because right now my PP is 102.2. I don't remember the decimal or the centisecond, like 102.2x. I don't remember what the x is. I think 102.1 is doable. I think 102.10 is feasible. And anything lower is just insane, but it's theoretically humanly possible if you invest enough time. And I think this is probably the only level other than tower that tying the task is going to be possible in. Tower V rank, we've already tied the task because there's like only 3 frame perfect inputs for that because it's just an auto scroller. Tower any percent is going to be possible to tie the tasks because it's like 13 frame perfect inputs. And then lab is going to be possible because, I don't know, there's something like 20 or so frame perfect inputs. I didn't count. So you can count them if you want. But it's reasonable because there's so much, there's no stupid turnarounds, there's only 3 stupid corner cuts that you actually need to get to tie the tasks. And everything else is actually feasible. Yep. All right, that's it. Goodbye. Stop watching, please, because this took way too long. And don't actually go for this. Just do 102.10 and be happy with it.